Ambassador Vince Henderson, Permanent Representative to the United Nations, and Mrs. Henderson, Consul General, Mrs. Barbara Daly, President and members of DOTSAC, Madam Wab Dwiet, distinguished and invited guests, and while I am on distinguished and invited guests, let me recognize in our midst Derek Rapiters, the voice that you just heard on the song playing a while ago. I believe we need as a people to continue to recognize our cultural icons. And while I'm on that, I want to also recognize Lord Tokyo. Let me also recognize the distinguished awardees today. And I want to congratulate you for the work that you continue to do to keep the name of Dominica alive in the diaspora. Ladies and gentlemen, friends all, let me first of all apologize on behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister, who really would have liked to have been here today celebrating with you, but due to his numerous overseas engagements, he was unable to make it. So I want to apologize, but he sends his best regards and his congratulations to the organizers of this event. I, on my behalf, bring you warm greetings, all of you Dominicans, from home in the Nature Isle, and from others like you, resident overseas. It is my pleasure to be here addressing you today on this very significant occasion. On occasions like these, we are often forced to do some self-introspection, to remind ourselves of who we are and the strides that we have made over the years. Much of which is fueled by sheer determination and our resilience as a proud people. No doubt, today's flag raising ceremony will strengthen our sense of identity and revive in our hearts and minds what we have always known, that Dominicans are special people. You agree with me? Yes. A special people with unique talents and skills, with warm hearts and caring spirits. Ladies and gentlemen, every country has its chapter in its history in which it has captured proud moments, even here in the United States of America. These chapters are kept as treasured memories and safeguarded for keys to nationhood. Like the mayor who just spoke, and like many Americans, you appreciate the history of this great United States and would therefore know of the Battle of Iwo Jima in 1945, when its strategy to defeat Japan, the US invaded Iwo Jima, a small island between Japan and the Mariana Islands. The soldiers were so proud of this achievement, they wanted to place the US flag at the highest point on the island. As tired as they were from the combat, that sense of pride then climbed to the top of the highest mountain of Mount Suribachi to plant the US flag. History records then Commander Chandler Johnson as handing the US flag over to his first lieutenant and saying, "If you get to the top of the mountain, put it up." Ladies and gentlemen, if we were to rewind the tapings of history, we would be reminded of the very first time that our Dominican flag was hoisted before thousands of proud citizens on November 3rd, 1979, when we celebrated political independence from Great Britain. From that day, we became responsible for charting our own destiny. And like young adults who moved out from the comfort of their parents' home, this liberation was not without its challenges, and you know that. We had Hurricane David at the time that just struck Dominica. Such as ours are constantly at the mercies of external forces. However, as Dominicans, there is a lesson that we must never forget, and that is, when a government and people are united, hurdles become footstools of our progress. What I'm saying to you this morning is, in spite of emerging and apparently insurmountable obstacles, as a determined and resilient people at home or abroad, we will prosper. A moment ago, I referred to the instructions given by the US commander to his soldiers during the Battle of Iwo Jima. If you get to the top. These instructions suggest that although they had defeated the enemy, it was not going to be easy. It was not going to be an easy road to the top. The resolve came in having been witness to what had already been achieved. The soldiers must have been even more determined to get to the top. Ladies and gentlemen, the presence of us here today symbolizes that the struggle for our nationhood by our forefathers was not in vain. Our history tells a story of our ability to adapt and to survive a Middle Passage of which more than 20 million Africans perished, more than the Jewish Holocaust, to 400 years of plantation slavery. We have not even been free for 400 years yet. 2 years of European colonization before independence. It is out of these experiences we developed the quadrille and the ballet, the mazouk and the hilanto. It is out of these experiences that our carnival and our sensei, our Kuyolwe, our wop duet and tete casse, what we refer to as our culture, was born. It was Marcus Mosayo Garvey of the United Negro Improvement Association who taught us that a people without a knowledge of their history, a people without a knowledge of their heritage and culture, are like a tree without roots. And we Dominicans are a tree with too many roots for us not to have a knowledge of our history and our culture. Today when we go outside and we raise the Dominica flag, that is what we will be celebrating. Our history is our story. It has never been easy. The history of resilience of the Kalinago people of the Carib territory. And by the way, it has been changed. They are no longer referred to as the Carib people. They are officially known now as the Kalinago people of the Carib territory. Note I said the Kalinago people of the Carib territory and not the Carib Reserve. True. Our history is a story of Jaco and Bala and Congore, all the way to Mal and Pocosion and Tumba. You know about those names? Yeah. Yes, yes. In fact, how many of us know of the National Trail, which revealed the stories of African slaves against plantation slavery? A 110-mile traversing the entire island. That's a new trail that we have done for tourism purposes in Dominica right now, and it's catching the world by storm. Telling the story of our strong Maroons and the settlements and their settlements all over Dominica. From Girodel to Bells, from Newfoundland to Syndicate, from Horseback Ridge in the Kalinago territory to Tatan. Today, when we raise our flag, the Dominica flag, that is what we are celebrating. How many of you remember that before WCK and Triple K, who came to Labor Day last week, before those bands began playing what is known as the bouillon, before Ra invented the bouillon, how many of you all believe that the bouillon music is all there is? That there was a fish bouillon. You know about the fish bouillon? And all that you needed was some lime squash with no ice to wash it down. Yes, these were the good old days. Yes, ça c'est Dominica ça. So changer? Yes. Let us keep this history that we are celebrating fresh in our minds and that of our children. Let us be ready to tell our children and grandchildren those good old folk tales and those good old days we as adults reminisce over during the closed doors of winter, when we wish to take a step outside, but we just cannot. Or for those who wish they could stay in from the cold, but must go out to work. Many of us fly the Dominica flag in our homes, in our cars, on our number plates. Or more recently, many of us wave our Dominica flag on the parkway for Labor Day. But how many of us really understand the significance of the Dominica flag? How many of us can explain the composition of our flag? The 10 stars, which are for the 10 parishes: St. John, St. Mark, St. Luke, St. Paul, St. Thomas, St. George, St. Joseph, and I could go on. The parrot, our Cicero parrot, which symbolizes our constant flight to higher heights. The triple cross, the black, the white, and the yellow, or even the colors of the cross: the yellow for the Kalinabu people, the white for our rivers, and the black for our Negro heritage. Do these symbols mean anything to us? The coat of arms of Dominica, it reads, Apwe Bode Se La Terre, after God is the earth. Do we even understand those words? Have we been explaining those things to our children? Ladies and gentlemen, our size should not define who we are. If you have Dominican roots, then you are Dominican. At home, we'll be 70,000 strong and over 700 if we are to take a global count. This is why we need to celebrate our culture and heritage wherever we are. The month of October is observed annually as Culture and Heritage Month in Dominica. Today, I encourage those of you resident overseas and resident here to join us at home and celebrate your culture throughout the month of October, leading up to independence celebrations in November. Do like we do on a Friday of October and dress up in your madras, dress up in your tetkase, in your plaid, when you go to work and when you go shopping. You should feel proud to have others look at you and ask a question. Let this opportunity tell those around you about our rich culture that we are so proud of. Some of which we will be seeing and some of which we have actually seen here today. And I want to congratulate all those who continue to keep the culture alive. Our presence here today gives credence to the old cliche, home is where the heart is. And we should be proud, because we are part of a unique people who can call Dominica home, the place of our birth, or that of the birthplace of our parents and our grandparents. This is an activity which strengthens our sense of identity. We are special. We are unique. We are special because we have a special and unique Dominica, the nature isle of the world. And this is why it's important, ladies and gentlemen, to keep the link, to keep the umbilical connection to Dominica. I am sure that we can refer to some kind of link back home with relatives which we left behind in search of greener pastures, or friends or other persons that we are acquainted with, which we have forged and established a bond, and we continue to keep in touch and to maintain contact. Even now it's easier with the internet and with Facebook and MySpace and with cell phones and BlackBerry and text. It's even easier to keep in touch. This morning we are gathered here in Connecticut at this flag raising ceremony as a symbol of our nationhood. This is what it means to be Dominican.